Welcome, my friends, to a place where we share inspiration and positivity. Welcome, everyone, to our latest video where we'll be exploring 1993 Indianapolis 500. The 77th Indianapolis 500 was held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana on Sunday, May 30, 1993. Emerson Fittipaldi took the lead with 16 laps to go and won his second career Indy 500 victory. The race was sanctioned by the United States Auto Club USAC and was part of the 1993 PPG IndyCar World Series. Several sidebar stories during the month complemented one of the most competitive Indy 500 races in recent years. Much of the pre-race attention for the month focused heavily on rookie Nigel Mansell, the reigning Formula One world champion, who joined the CART IndyCar series during the off-season. A large international media contingent arrived at the track, creating a huge frenzy surrounding the Englishman. Mansell was competitive all afternoon and was leading the race on lap 184 as the field was coming to a restart. His inexperience on oval circuits, however, led to him misjudging the restart speed, and he was quickly passed down the main stretch by Fittipaldi, which proved to be the winning move. The top three finishers consisted of the Brazilian Fittipaldi, Dutchman Emerson, and the English Mansell, the first time since 1915 that all of the top three finishers were from countries other than the United States. Additionally, the fourth and fifth place finishers were Brazilian Raul Boesel and Italian-born American Mario Andretti. After hinting about retirement in 1991 and later retracting retirement plans in 1992, four-time Indy 500 winner A.J. Foyt entered the 1993 race and participated in the first week of practice. On the morning of pole day qualifying, rookie Robbie Gordon, driving a Foyt team car, crashed during a practice session. The incident led to Foyt deciding to retire from IndyCar racing after a 35-year career. The 1993 race would be the final competitive drives at Indy for both Mario Andretti and Al Unser. Andretti led the most laps and finished in fifth place. Unser also led laps during the race en route to a 12th finish. Andretti would drop out of the 1994 race and retired after the 1994 season. Unser abruptly retired during practice for the 1994 race. Also grabbing headlines during qualifying was the plight of defending CART champion and 1986 Indy winner Bobby Rahal. After struggling to get his car up to speed, Rahal was bumped from the field on the final day of time trials. Raul Boesel led 18 laps for owner Dick Simon, the first time a Simon-owned car ever led the Indy 500. Boesel took the lead at the start and had one of the fastest cars during the race. His chances for victory, however, were foiled due to two pit stop penalties, which dropped him to the back of the pack. He worked his way back up to a remarkable fourth finish, but in post-race interviews felt the race had been stolen from him, saying, "In my mind, this race is mine." Now, let's redirect our focus towards background and discover its significance in our narrative. Sweeping changes were seen at Indy for 1993, both at the track and amongst the competitors. After the many crashes during the 1992 race, rule changes were implemented to slow cars down and to better protect drivers in crashes. Among the noticeable changes were smaller rear wings and the banning of the wheel disc inserts. In addition, the front noses of the cars were changed, intended to protect the driver's feet in a crash. Cockpits were to be redesigned to allow drivers to pull their feet back before impact. Also making news at the Speedway was the official announcement of the Brickyard 400, to be held in 1994. Tony George and Bill France Jr. jointly announced the race on April 14 during a ceremony at the museum, a few weeks before opening day. The race would give the Speedway two major events annually starting in 1994. Beginning in 1993, the speed limit in the pit lane 100 miles per hour was enforced at all times. In the previous year, it was only enforced during caution periods. In this section, we'll be exploring driver and team changes. During the off-season, four-time Indy 500 winner Rick Mears announced his retirement from racing. Penske driver Paul Tracy was elevated into the ride, taking over full-time, where he had previously driven part-time in. Tracy would earn his first career IndyCar victory at Long Beach, the last race before Indianapolis. The biggest story going into the season surrounded Newman Haas Racing. Michael Andretti left the CART series and signed with McLaren to drive in Formula One. Taking Andretti's place would be reigning Formula One World Champion Nigel Mansell. Mansell came to the American Open Wheel Series with considerable fanfare and huge media attention. Mansell joined fellow former world driving champion Mario Andretti as teammates. Mansell won the CART season opener at Surfers Paradise, but was involved in a crash during practice for the Valvoline 200 at Phoenix. He suffered a back injury and sat out that event. Meanwhile, Mario Andretti subsequently won that race at Phoenix, notching his 52nd and final IndyCar victory. Since he missed the Phoenix race, Indianapolis would serve as Nigel Mansell's first ever oval race start. Mansell underwent back surgery on April 28, forcing him to miss rookie orientation and the opening weekend of practice at Indy. Officials would arrange for a special session in which Mansell could conduct his mandatory rookie test. True Sports Racing was absorbed by Rahal Hogan Racing, and driver Bobby Rahal took over the existing True Sports chassis program to start out the season. Rahal entered the race as the defending CART Series champion and was coming off a second-place finish at Long Beach. Gales Racing maintained its driver lineup for 1993. Defending Indy 500 winner Al Unser Jr. returned, as did Danny Sullivan. The team, however, scrapped the Galma chassis program. Kevin Cogan joined the team at Indy only, making it a three-car Indy 500 effort. At Chip Ganassi Racing, Eddie Cheever departed and was replaced by Arie Luyendyk. In 1992, Luyendyk was out of a full-time ride and drove for Ganassi at Indy and Michigan only. For 1993, Luyendyk was back with the team, this time for a full-season ride. After his devastating crash in 1992, Nelson Piquet returned to Indy after a lengthy rehabilitation. Former winners Tom Sneber and Gordon Johncock also retired during the off-season, though Sneber did arrive at the track hoping for an outside chance to land a ride. After 2 years of retirement rumors, four-time winner A.J. Foyt entered once again as a driver, looking to qualify for his 36th consecutive Indy 500. Rookie driver Robbie Gordon was entered in a second Foyt team car. The other active four-time winner, Al Unser Sr., secured a ride with King Racing. The previous 2 years, Unser had entered the month without a ride. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at track improvements and its impact on our understanding. Following the 1992 race, an extensive construction project was undertaken at the Speedway. The apron lane at the bottom of the track was removed and replaced with a new separated warm-up lane similar to the one at Nazareth Speedway. A grass strip physically separated the track surface from the new warm-up lane. Rumble strips were installed below the white line to discourage drivers from dipping below the white line. The improvements were made in an effort to curtail speeds and reduce impact angles, but were criticized by some who said that it made the track too narrow and would make passing more difficult. The entire outer retaining wall and catch fence was replaced, mostly in anticipation of the 1994 Brickyard 400. Other physical improvements included new grandstands at the north end of the circuit, observation mounds in the infield, and the completion of a new championship-caliber golf course on the grounds, designed by Pete Dye called Brickyard Crossing. The spotlight now falls on opening day, Saturday, May 8, as we delve deeper into its details. The traditional opening day ceremonies were capped off when Dick Simon Racing was the first team out on the track for the 6th consecutive year. Marco Greco was the first driver to complete a lap, with the rest of the Simon cars following in a diamond formation. Shortly before 3 p.m., Jeff Andretti entered the warm-up lane in turn 3 too fast, and slid back onto the track into the path of Roberto Guerrero's car. Guerrero went high to avoid Andretti's spinning car and brushed the outside wall. Neither driver was injured. Mario Andretti 222.124 miles per hour was the fastest car of the day. In the following section, we'll be immersing ourselves in the captivating world of Sunday, May 9. Paul Tracy was the fastest of the day. Jeff Andretti blew an engine, starting a huge fire at the back of his car, which he was able to guide back to the pits. Let's now shift gears and explore Monday, May 10 through a critical lens, uncovering its strengths and weaknesses. Team Penske led the speed charts, with Paul Tracy 220.724 miles per hour first and Emerson Fittipaldi 220.691 miles per hour second. Nelson Piquet was ninth before he clipped the outside wall exiting turn 2. Brace yourself for a deep dive into Tuesday, May 11 as we explore its impact and relevance in our evolving narrative. Arie Luyendyk set the fastest lap thus far for the month at 225.89 miles per hour. Hiro Matsushita and Paul Tracy both survived separate spins at the pit entrance without hitting anything. At about 1:30 p.m., AJ Foyt took his first shakedown laps of the month, reaching a top lap of 212 miles per hour. Turning our focus to Wednesday, May 12, let's explore its key elements. Rookie Nigel Mansell passed his physical and began his four-phase driver's test. He breezed through all four phases, with a top lap of 218.579 miles per hour. Though he was unable to attend the rookie orientation program, Mansell received special permission from USAC to skip the program due to his extensive auto racing experience and expertise. Robbie Buell crashed in turn 2, suffering a concussion, which sidelined him until May 19. Ross Bentley and Olivier Gruelard also spun out on the track. Raul Boesel topped the speed chart for the day at 224.461 miles per hour. Now, let's redirect our focus towards Thursday, May 13 and discover its significance in our narrative. Arie Luyendyk once again set the fastest lap thus far for the month, raising it to 226.182 miles per hour. The day was without incident, except for Robbie Gordon, who wiped the outside wall at the South Chute, suffering minor suspension damage. Mario Andretti was second fastest, 225.423 miles per hour, the second driver of the month over 225 miles per hour. In his first full day of practice, Nigel Mansell was sixth fastest, with a lap of 224.372 miles per hour. Now, let's redirect our focus towards Friday, May 14 and discover its significance in our narrative. Raul Boesel 225.592 miles per hour topped the speed chart for the final day of practice before pole day. Nigel Mansell continued to impress, posting the second fastest lap of the day, 224.949 miles per hour. Mario Andretti was third, but Arie Luyendyk was only ninth fastest. Incidents on the track involved three drivers. At 12:20 p.m., Didier Thies spun out of turn 4 and hit the inside wall, bouncing back to the middle of the front stretch. The car was heavily damaged, but Thies suffered only a bruised thigh. At 1:53 p.m., Ross Bentley abruptly stopped on the main stretch, with the car on fire. He quickly scrambled to exit the cockpit. A fuel pressure regulator broke, spilling fuel and igniting. Bentley suffered first and second-degree burns to his face and hands, and he would sit out the rest of the month. Late in the day, Mario Andretti spun in the warm-up lane, but did not make contact. Let's now turn our attention to AJ Foyt retires and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. Pole day was warm and sunny. At 8:11 a.m., during the morning practice session, rookie Robbie Gordon, driving the Foyt entry, spun exiting turn 1, then brushed the wall with the nose of the car. The car continued to slide, righted itself forward, and slid along the outside wall in turn 2. Gordon was uninjured. About 2 hours later, unexpectedly, AJ Foyt donned his racing suit for the final time and took to the track for a final farewell lap. After the Gordon crash, Foyt decided he was unable to fully concentrate his efforts on both driving and running the team successfully, and after previously hinting at retirement in 1991, he made his retirement official effective immediately. An emotional and teary-eyed Foyt was interviewed by Tom Carnegie over the public address system, giving his farewell speech to the fans. As we venture forward, let's take a closer look at Open of qualifications and its impact on our understanding. Promptly at 11 a.m., time trials began with Stan Fox the first driver in line. After 3 inconsistent laps, Fox waved off. Due to the challenging track layout without the apron and rules changes, several drivers and teams were uneasy about qualifying speeds and many waved off. Mario Andretti was the second car out, and completed his run at 223.414 miles per hour, putting him on the provisional pole position. In the first hour and 15 minutes, only 4 cars completed runs. 9 cars waved off, including Arie Luyendyk, and Gary Bettenhausen wrecked on his 4th lap. At 12:30 p.m., Roel Boesel put his car on the front row with a run of 222.379 miles per hour. Nigel Mansell waved off his first run after 3 laps in the 218-219 miles per hour range. At 1 p.m., with 10 cars in the field, the track became quiet as drivers awaited better conditions. At 5 p.m., time trials resumed. Arie Luyendyk secured the pole position with a speed of 223.967 miles per hour. Luyendyk bumped Mario Andretti to the middle of the front row, and Roel Boesel held on for the outside of the front row. Nigel Mansell was the next car out, making his second attempt. After a first lap of 221.811 miles per hour, Mansell wildly veered to the middle of the track out of turn 4, fearing that he brushed the wall exiting turn 4. His second lap dropped to 219 miles per hour, and his full lap average ended up 220.255 miles per hour, good enough for 8th starting position in the middle of row 3. Emerson Fittipaldi, Kevin Kogan, and Stefan Johansson were the only other cars to complete runs. The day ended with 15 cars in the field, and Brute 216.794 miles per hour as the slowest. Bobby Rahal was among the drivers not yet in the field. As we progress through this video, let's now turn our gaze towards second day Sunday, May 16. Several drivers who waved off on pole day completed runs on the second day. Among those who qualified comfortably were Jeff Andretti, Lynn Street James, and Teo Fabi. After struggling all week with the True Sports chassis, Bobby Rahal completed a run at 217.14 miles per hour. French rookie Stefan Grodier's last-minute run of 220.851 miles per hour just before the closing gun made him the fastest rookie and quickest qualifier for the day. With the field filled to 26 cars, Mark Smith 214.356 miles per hour was the slowest car in the field. The only incident of the day involved Davy Jones, who blew an engine on the first lap of his qualifying attempt. The hot fluids entered the cockpit, and Jones scrambled to stop the car against the inside wall near the pit entrance and climbed out. In this segment, we'll be unraveling the complexities of Monday, May 17 and exploring its multifaceted nature. A light day of track activity saw John Andretti shaking down a car for Willie T. Ribbs at Walker Motorsports. Andretti hit 220.157 miles per hour in the car, the fastest non-qualified car of the afternoon. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore Tuesday, May 18 from a different angle. Rain kept cars off the track until 3 p.m. An abbreviated practice session saw only 15 cars on the track, with Teo Fabi 223.381 miles per hour the fastest of the day, his fastest lap all month. Willie T. Ribbs took his first laps of the month, and first laps since 1991, topping out in the 210 miles per hour range. Let's now venture into the realm of Wednesday, May 19 and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. Eric Bacalart wrecked early in the session in Turn 1, but he suffered only minor injuries. After being cleared to drive Wednesday morning, Robbie Buell wrecked again, this time suffering an injured foot. To date, Dale Coyne Racing had now suffered 4 crashes in the month. Emerson Fittipaldi, testing race setups, set the second fastest lap of the month at 226.051 miles per hour, faster than the pole position speed. Olivier Groulard, Eddie Cheever, and Jim Crawford led the speed chart for the non-qualified drivers. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine Thursday, May 20 and its connections to our previous discussions. The fastest lap of the month was turned in by Mario Andretti, who blistered the track at 227.118 miles per hour. Jim Crawford 221.212 miles per hour set the pace for the non-qualified drivers. The day ended 15 minutes early due to rain. In this section, we'll be exploring Friday, May 21. The final full day of practice saw heavy activity. A total of 33 cars ran 1,693 laps during the session, and the field passed 20,000 practice laps for the month. Nigel Mansell 225.468 miles per hour was the fastest car of the day, and Robbie Gordon 221.272 miles per hour led the non-qualified cars. The only incident of the day involved Dominic Dobson, who spun to the inside of Turn 1 and lightly tapped the outside wall. The car was not damaged, and Dobson was not injured. Let's zoom in on third day, Saturday, May 22 and understand its implications. At the opening of time trials, Eddie Cheever was the first car to complete a qualifying run. It was his third and final attempt in the Turley Motorsports entry. His speed of 216.415 miles per hour was disappointingly slow compared to his previous practice laps. Jim Crawford put a third King Racing entry in the field, with a comfortable speed of 217.612 miles per hour. John Andretti signed last minute to drive the Foyt entry, and quickly posted a speed of 221.746 miles per hour, the fastest car of the afternoon, and 6th in the entire field. Robbie Gordon, now the primary driver for Foyt, followed with a run of 220.085 miles per hour. At 5:17 p.m., Jeff Brabham easily bumped rookie Mark Smith from the field. Smith turned around and requalified his backup car at 217.15 miles per hour, bumping Eddie Cheever. The bumping continued with Willie T. Ribbs posting a solid run of 217.711 miles per hour to bump Olivier Groulard. Eddie Cheever took out his backup ERT car for his 4th attempt of the month, but waved off. The day ended with Dominic Dobson bumping out Scott Pruitt. With questionable weather in the forecast for Sunday, the field was filled to 33 cars, with Bobby Rahal on the bubble. In this section, we'll be exploring Bump Day Sunday, May 23. With the field already filled to 33 cars, Bump Day, the final day of time trials, started with unfavorable weather conditions. Wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour were observed, which kept cars off the track most of the early afternoon. 1986 winner and defending CART champion Bobby Rahal 217.14 miles per hour started the day on the bubble, as the slowest car in the field. His chassis was proving to be uncompetitive in super speedway trim. On Sunday morning, Team Menard offered a spare car to Bobby Rahal, who was in considerable danger of failing to qualify. Rahal declined, opting instead to roll out his backup car and start getting it up to speed. After a difficult time thus far in qualifying, Eddie Cheever quit the Turley team. He took up the offer with Menard that Rahal had declined. Qualifying began at 5 p.m, with Eddie Cheever first out. Though his speed was seemingly fast enough to bump his way into the field, the crew waved off the run. Bobby Rahal remained on the bubble. Over the next half hour, for drivers Didier Thies, Scott Pruitt, John Paul Jr., and Eric Bacalart all attempted to bump Bobby Rahal from the field. John Paul Jr. blew his engine, and the rest were too slow and waved off. Rahul's team had to keep pulling his backup car out of line and moving to the rear, increasing the risk that he would not be able to requalify if he got bumped. With 15 minutes left in the day, Eddie Cheever took to the track, his second attempt in the Menard entry, and his sixth qualifying attempt overall of the month and Indy 500 record at the time. At 217.599 miles per hour, Cheever bumped Bobby Rahal from the field. The move put rookie Mark Smith 217.15 miles per hour on the bubble. At 5:54 p.m., Didier Thies took to the track and completed his run at 217.752 miles per hour. Thies bumped Smith and added to the law of the curse of the Smiths at the Indy 500. Smith hopped into a backup car borrowed from Pagan Racing, but would not make it to the front of the line before time ran out. With just seconds remaining until the 6 o'clock gun, Bobby Rahal made it to the front of the qualifying line. At 5:59 p.m., he pulled away for his warm-up laps. Kevin Cogan 217.23 miles per hour was now on the bubble. Rahal's first lap was completed at 217.36 miles per hour, just fast enough to bump his way inch. However, his second lap dropped to 216.82 miles per hour. His third lap 214.782 miles per hour was the dagger, and Rahal failed to qualify. Let's now turn our gaze towards Carburetion Day and explore the fascinating connections it has to offer. The final practice session was held Thursday, May 27. Scott Brayton 223.547 miles per hour set the fastest lap. Nigel Mansell was second and Roel Boesel third. No incidents were reported, but a few drivers, namely Stan Fox, reported relatively minor mechanical issues. First alternate Bobby Rahal did not take the opportunity to practice. Paul Tracy was absent for the day due to the birth of his daughter in Toronto. Emerson Fittipaldi shook down Tracy's car for a handful of practice laps. In the following segment, we'll be examining pit stop contest in greater detail. The elimination rounds for the 17th annual Miller Genuine Draft Pit Stop Contest were held on Thursday, May 27. The top 3 race qualifiers and their respective pit crews were automatically eligible: Ari Luendick, Mario Andretti, and Roel Boesel. 2 additional quarterfinal spots would be filled by preliminaries scheduled for May, for a total of 5 participants. For 1993, a quarterfinal round was added. On Wednesday, May 19, the cars of the Gales KICO racing team made their preliminary runs. The results were Danny Sullivan 11.684 seconds and Al Unser Jr. 12.259 seconds. On Thursday, May 20, 7 additional teams made preliminary attempts. The results were as follows: Nigel Mansell 12.437 seconds, Robbie Gordon 12.917 seconds, Bobby Rahal 13.21 seconds, Roberto Guerrero 13.455 seconds, Scott Goodyear 14.915 seconds, Tony Bettenhausen 15.103, Jim Crawford 18.508 seconds. Unser Jr. and Sullivan held on to advance as the quarterfinal qualifiers. Al Unser Jr. defeated Danny Sullivan to reach the semi-finals. Unser then defeated Ari Luendick to advance to the final round. Mario Andretti won the other semi-final match after Roel Boesel stalled in his pit. In the final round match, Al Unser Jr., led by Chief Mechanic Owen Snyder, defeated Andretti, led by Chief Mechanic John Simmons. It was third victory in the event for Unser and Gales. In this section, we'll be shedding light on alternates and its impact on our understanding of the subject. First alternate, Mark Smith, bumped. No attempt made. Second alternate, Bobby Rahal, out-bumped, out too slow. Let's now shift our focus to failed to qualify and explore the ways in which it shapes our perspective. Olivier Gruelard, bumped, out, did not attempt to qualify. Scott Pruitt, bumped. To Slaurik Bacalart, too slow. Practice crash. To Slorky Moran, too slow. Joan Paul Jr. blown engine during qualifications. Buddy Lazier blown engine during qualifications. Bentley injured. Car fire during practice. Robbie Buell, out injured practice crasher. J. Foyt retired on pole day morning, did not attempt to qualify. Mike Groffout, out practice only, did not practice or attempt to qualify. Brian Bonner did not attempt to qualify. As we progress, let's zoom in on pre-race and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. After the tumultuous off-season and surprising events during time trials, the 500 would line up with several familiar drivers on the sidelines for one reason or another. A.J. Foyt, Rick Mears, Gordon Johncock, and Tom Snever have retired. Bobby Rahal and Scott Pruitt both failed to qualify, and Michael Andretti's commitments in Formula One prevented him from entering the race. After the miserable cold weather from the previous year, race day dawned sunny and warm. There was pre-race concern about approaching precipitation, and the forecast was questionable. Some teams prepared for a possible rain-shortened race. However, the rain never arrived, and the race was completed without interruption. Let's zoom in on start and understand its implications. At the green flag, pole Exeter Eri Lundick and Roel Boesel drag raced down the front stretch, with Mario Andretti dropping back into third. Boesel got the edge and grabbed the lead into turn 1. The entire field circulated through the first lap cleanly and started to pick up the pace. Boesel began lapping the back markers on lap 8. Meanwhile, Andretti moved past Lundick to take second place. On lap 16, Jim Crawford spun exiting turn 2. He flat-spotted his tires, but did not make contact. He drove back to the pits and re-entered the race. Under the caution, most of the leaders pitted. Kevin Cogan stayed out and inherited the lead. In doing so, Cogan accomplished a rare feat in which the slowest qualifier in the field led laps during the race. In the pits, Roel Boesel was among those who pitted, and in the process, the crew was able to remove a hot dog wrapper that was blocking the radiator inlet. As Boesel was exiting his pit stall, he was momentarily blocked when Scott Goodyear pulled out of his stall. Further down the lane, Mario Andretti slowly pulled out of his pit box and was ahead of Boesel. Both cars entered the warm-up lane together. Boesel was going much faster and slipped by Andretti in the warm-up lane. Boesel was unaware and was not informed by the officials that Mario had crossed the blend line first. After the field went back to green on lap 21, the black flag was displayed for Boesel. A controversial stop-and-go penalty was assessed to Boesel. Confusion hovered over the reason for penalty. Owner Dick Simon was initially informed it was for speeding in the pits, but then it was changed to passing under the yellow. Boesel darted into the pits to serve the penalty, and fell all the way back to the rear of the field. He lost a lap in the process. In the next portion, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of first half and examining its broader implications. With Alonso Sister leading on lap 31, Danny Sullivan, suffering from a pushing condition, went high in turn 3 and smacked the outside wall. A piece of the suspension pierced through the side of the tub and narrowly missed puncturing his leg. Sullivan would not return as a driver in 1994, but did one last time in 1995. Nelson Piquet, who returned to Indy after being seriously injured in pre-race practice the previous year, dropped out with a blown engine. Mario Andretti led the field back to green on lap 36, Eri Lundick ran second, and Emerson Fittipaldi third. Mario led comfortably for the next 15 laps. On lap 47, the leaders approached traffic, and Lundick passed Andretti to take the lead into turn 1. Nigel Mansell began showing strength, passing Fittipaldi for third, then closing in his teammate Mario Andretti in second. Down the main stretch on lap 50, Mansell dove inside Mario for position, but Mario held him off, sweeping down in front in turn 1. 3 laps later, Mansell finally got by Mario in turn 1, after a hot pursuit. Andretti pitted 1 lap later. On lap 56, Mansell passed Lundick coming out of turn 2 to take the lead for the first time. However, Mansell ducked into the pits on that same lap and was not credited with leading a lap yet. During the sequence of green flag pit stops, the lead changed hands several times. After all of the leaders pitted, Nigel Mansell took over the lead. The yellow came out for debris on lap 89, and after pit stops, Mario Andretti was back in the lead. Nigel Mansell overshot his pit stall, and his crew had to wheel him back to administer service. Mansell dropped to 6th place after a 40-second pit stop. The green came out on lap 94, but only lasted 2 laps. Scott Brayton and Paul Tracy tangled entering turn 3, and Tracy was forced into the outside wall. Brayton came down on Tracy, pinching him to the grass, and clipped his front wheel. In the upcoming section, we'll be shining a light on second half. On lap 128, the only multi-car crash of the day occurred. Jeff Andretti and Roberto Guerrero came together in turn 3, with both cars crashing out. Leader Mario Andretti ducked into the pits. However, he entered the pit lane when it was closed. He was given the black flag and assessed a stop-and-go penalty. After the shuffle, Alonso Jr. took over the lead, with Andretti second. Meanwhile, Raul Boesel was now back on the lead lap in 8th place. Robbie Gordon brought out the yellow on lap 169 when he stalled on the track with a broken gearbox. Under the yellow, Raul Boesel entered the pits while they were closed and was assessed a stop-and-go penalty. However, he did not lose any considerable track position. After the shuffle from the final sequence of pit stops, Nigel Mansell was now back in the lead, with Emerson Fittipaldi second and Arie Luyendyk third. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting finish and exploring its intricate connections to our topic. On lap 182, the yellow came out when Lynn Street James stalled in turn 4. Nigel Mansell was leading Emerson Fittipaldi and Arie Luyendyk. On lap 184, the field was ready to go back to green. Mansell, driving in his first ever IndyCar oval race, was inexperienced in restarts and was too hesitant bringing the field back to green. He exited turn 4 too slow, and immediately Fittipaldi and Luyendyk were on his rear bumper. Mansell realized he was a sitting duck and swept to the inside of the track to attempt to block. Fittipaldi quickly diced around and got by on the outside to take the lead. Going into turn 1, Luyendyk precariously swept by Mansell on the outside and took over second place. With Fittipaldi pulling away, the laps dwindled down and Mansell's chances for victory started to slip away. On lap 192, Mansell slid high exiting turn 2 and whitewalled the outside wall. A caution came out for the contact, but Mansell stayed out on the track. His suspension suffered minor damage, but he continued. The green flag came out for the final time with 5 laps to go. Emerson Fittipaldi got the jump on the restart and pulled away to a comfortable lead. Fittipaldi won his second Indy 500 by 2.8 seconds over Arie Luyendyk. Nigel Mansell held on to finish third, while Raul Boesel worked his way all the way back to the front runners to come home fourth. Nigel Mansell became the first rookie to finish the full 500 miles since Donnie Allison in 1970. He won the Rookie of the Year award and led a total of 34 laps during the race. His late race miscue cost him 2 positions and was largely chalked up as a rookie mistake. During post-race interviews, Mansell claimed he was trying to follow the rules, waiting for the green flag to come out before he accelerated, and he was surprised that Fittipaldi and Luyendyk had caught up such ground on him so quickly. He claimed that everybody, if you like, cheats on the restarts, and I'm trying to do it by the rules and I lost the lead. However, he did not protest the results, and was pleased with his performance. Later that same year, Mansell won the Michigan 500 and went on to win the 1993 CART IndyCar Championship. Mansell was honored with the Driver of the Year award, the Autosport International Racing Driver Award, and an ESPY. Let's zoom in on post-race and understand its implications. Race winner Emerson Fittipaldi, who previously won in 1989, pulled into victory lane to celebrate his win with team owner Roger Penske. It would be the final time a driver celebrated in the hydraulic lift version of Indy's victory lane, as a new one was built for 1994. As Fittipaldi emerged from the cockpit, he immediately began the traditional winner's interview, being given by Jack Arut live on ABC TV. Fittipaldi broke a decades-old tradition and chose not to drink the ceremonial milk in Victory Lane, a tradition that dates back to 1936. Fittipaldi instead controversially drank orange juice, which he himself provided, in order to promote the Brazilian citrus industry. Arut immediately shifted his questioning to the milk snub, and the exchange on live television went as follows. Fittipaldi refused to even hold the milk bottle, pushing it away at least 3 times from the presenter. After the interview was concluded, and after television cameras had been turned off, Fittipaldi finally did take a sip from the bottle of milk at the direction of his owner Roger Penske, however, not before a controversy boiled. Fan reaction to the snub was highly negative, and they charged Fittipaldi with breaking the popular and long-standing Indy tradition for personal gain. He quickly gained hecklers, and was booed the following week during driver introductions at Milwaukee. A few days after the race, Fittipaldi issued an apology statement and donated the $5,000 prize from the American Dairy Association of Indiana to charity. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore box score through a fresh lens, unlocking new perspectives. Former Indianapolis 500 winner. Indianapolis 500 rookie. All cars utilized Goodyear tires. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting race statistics and exploring its intricate connections to our topic. There were 23 lead changes involving a race record 12 different leaders. Kevin Cogan, the slowest qualifier, led 3 laps, the first time since 1923 that the slowest driver in the field led a lap at Indy. The 10 cars finishing on the lead lap was the most in Indy history up to that point, although it was not the most cars completing the full 500 miles. The record was 16 in 1959. However, since the implementation of the pack-up rule during caution periods in 1979, and the fact that extra time to complete the 500 miles was eliminated in the mid-airs, 10 cars completing 500 miles on the lead lap broke the CART era record of for 1980, 1986, 1992. The field completed a then race record 5,733 out of a possible 6,600 laps, 86.9% for a full 500-mile race, a record that stood until 2013. Lap leaders laps 18 133 134 172 173 174. Total laps led driver Mario Andretti, Nigel Mansell, Raul Boesel, Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, Al Unser sister Eri Lundick, Scott Goodyear, Kevin Cogan, John Andretti, Robbie Gordon, Stefan Groboyer. Cautions, 8 for 49 laps. In this section, we'll be deep diving into radio, unraveling its complexities and uncovering valuable insights. The race was carried live on the IMS radio network. Bob Jenkins served as chief announcer for the 4th year. Johnny Rutherford, who missed the broadcast in 1992, returned to serve as driver expert. Besides Rutherford, the rest of the crew remained the same from 1991 to 1992. For the first time, the radio network did not feature a separate live interview with the winner from Victory Lane. The network simulcast the ABC TV live interview, which would occur immediately as the driver arrives in Victory Lane. This allowed the radio audience to hear the first words spoken by the winner, increasing the spontaneity, and prevented the driver from having to repeat an entire interview for a second audience. As we transition to the next segment, let's unravel the mysteries surrounding television and gain a fresh perspective. The race was carried live flag-to-flag coverage in the United States on ABC Sports. Paul Page served as host and play-by-play announcer, joined by color commentators Bobby Unser and Sam Posey. A slight change came about for 1993. Bobby Unser left the announcing booth and reported from the turn-to position on top of the luxury suites. The move was supposedly to offer a fresh perspective, but others believed it was to separate Unser and Posey, who were known to engage in heated exchanges and debates on air. Besides answer moving his reporting position, the same exact crew and respective duties from 1990 to 1992 returned. Bobby Rahal, who failed to qualify for the 1993 race, was invited to be part of the crew but declined. 2 new camera angles debuted, with scaffolding towers erected inside the turns. This was done in part due to construction of new grandstands at the north end of the track and due to the outer retaining fence having been raised. Producers wanted an unobstructed view of the track, and for 1993, desirable camera locations were unavailable on the outside. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of USAC Gold Crown Championship and unravel its multifaceted nature. The USAC Gold Crown Championship season consisted of 1 sanctioned race. The schedule was based on a split calendar, beginning in June 1992 and running through May 1993. Starting in 1981, USAC scaled back their participation in top-level IndyCar racing and ultimately ceased sanctioning races outside of the Indianapolis 500 following their season. Subsequently, the Gold Crown Championship would consist of only 1 event annually. The winner of the Indianapolis 500 would be the de facto Gold Crown champion, as it was their lone points-paying event. The preeminent national championship season was instead sanctioned by CART, and the Indy 500 paid championship points separately on a different scale toward the CART championship as well. Emerson Fittipaldi, by virtue of winning the 1993 Indianapolis 500, also won the USAC championship. In the upcoming section, we'll be dissecting final points standings top 5 and exploring its implications in greater detail. Final points standings top 5. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore works cited from a different angle. 1993 Indianapolis 500 day-by-day trackside report for the media. Indianapolis 500 history, race and all-time stats. Official site. 1993 Indianapolis 500 radio broadcast, Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. Indy 500 Walker. Previous race equal previous winner equal Al-Unseer. This race equal this winner equal Emerson Fittipaldi. Next race equal next winner equal Al-Unseer. Factory. Indianapolis 500 races. Indianapolis 500 Indianapolis 500 Indianapolis 500. Remember, knowledge is power. Keep learning, growing, and exploring.